Analysis of current economic condition, inflation in Malaysia.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My part in this assignment is about introduction. Okay, the keyness criticize the classical assumption of full employment and develop modern microeconomic theory that attempt to connect money supply, employment, business cycle, and government policy. Next, the incentive for development of modern microeconomic came from the Great Depression of the early 1930s. In 1936, well-known British economist J.M. Keynes introduced his own theory and wrote his famous book, The General Theory of Employment, Interest and Money, which birthed the Keynesian revolution, the second primary school of economics. It analyzed the force which determine economic growth of a country and explain how to reach the highest state of economic growth and sustain it. However, in microeconomics, we study the whole economic system like national income, total saving and investment, total employment, total demand, total supply, general price level. Last but not least, it is the rise in the general level of price where a unit of currency effectively buy less than it did in prior period.
Okay, my part is about Malaysia inflation rate for the past 10 years. In general, we know that inflation is an increase in the general price of goods and services that is comprehensive and ongoing. Every country have their own economic condition in every year. Either it's inflation, deflation and stagflation. The Consumer Price Index is also an indicator used by the government to measure inflation in Malaysia. As we know, investors are more interested to hearing about terms inflation and gross domestic product just about every day. This is because when a country is inflated, investor is more interested in investing in the country. Okay, from the data that I received, so I can conclude that inflation rate happen because the demand pull inflation is occur due to the demand and excess supply of goods and service in a short time. Next, it's due to the increase in money supply, which is a large supply of money in an economy can help increase the country demands. If the money supply is not regulated by the Central Bank of BNM, then the company as a whole has a high liquidity rate and it will increase the domestic demand. If too much money and purchasing power but little goods and service, then inflation will prevail. However, rising taxes has also led to an increase in operating costs and goods while inflationary. Other than that, inflation is because the rising minimum wage will cause employer or company to increase the cost of their goods and services, and this will result in an increase in national spending. Lastly, a more inflationary factor are the lowest exchange rate of Malaysia and rising price of imported goods. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, I will explain about the economic issue, and our point is rise in crude oil price and rise of wages. Okay, for us include oil price. This has affected national oil price as the government cannot withstand the increase in subsidies. For example, the price of 1 kg of price in 2006 was 2 ringgit, and the price of item increased from 2 ringgit 50 cent in January 2007. Okay, this means that the price of the item has increased 25% from the previous year. Okay, for local trader, this action actually does reduce their ringgit national value by 20%, 25% compared to the previous year. So, the inflation has reduced household purchasing power.
Okay, next is the increase in salaries, wage, as well as the announcement of the new COLA by the government are also inflation in Malaysia. Not only does this happen to civic servants, local traders are also feel it. The mismanagement of the local traders gave Malaysia both an inflation. Then the government has come up with many ways to lower the price of the goods, but there are a lot of hard sellers who consume them by hiding their goods and raising the price. We can see the main cause of the Malaysian inflation is caused by the internal crisis itself. The action of the local retailers and traders are the biggest contributors to inflation. While many ways see general impact of the crude oil inflation on inflation, the government has observed the burden by the subsidizing. Many of the government need to reduce costs. For me, this is not the best reason for the traders increase the price for good in a market that likely to increase inflation. Thank you. That's all for me.
Okay, I want to explain about economic policy implement in Malaysia. The economy of Malaysia, the third largest is Seoul, Asia, after Indonesia and Thailand, and it is the 35th third largest economy in the world. Based on statistics, when Malaysia showed that the deflation increased, Malaysia used direct control that can impose many regulations with directly control the price levels like price of certain product under government control. Then government also can control the wage rate so that it is parallel with an increase in worker productivity. In 2017, dropped back down to its normal rate. So Malaysia implement contractionary monetary policy to reduce inflation problem, so that money supply will decrease. The tools of monetary policy control inflation include the increased discount rate, increased required reserve, and increased special deposit by commercial banks. Malaysia also target the maximum inflation rate only 2%. When the percentage inflation rate over the target, government will reduce the money supplies within an economy by decrease bond price and increase interest rate. The country's GDP continues to reach and total 326.93 billion US dollar in 2017. Through fiscal policy, Malaysia needs to control the problem with reduce its spending or increase tax, or both action taken stimulation. And the Malaysia government has offered a one-time subsidy to the people in need thus effectively launching the first government-funded social security scheme in Malaysia. And then lastly, Malaysia country increase in investment and production. It is businessmen will get the higher profit when inflation occurred. From the distributed profit, they reinvest to product larger goods and service.
Okay, for the conclusion, first, economic growth can be measured in nominal term, which include inflation, or the real term, which are adjusted for inflation. Money supply, exchange rate, and unemployment rate can bring the inflation rate. Next, using monetary policy, the government can overcome the high inflation problem in Malaysia. One of the way is by credit control method, where the Malaysia Central Bank must try to control the quantity or quality of credit in our country. Monetary policy can only be helpful in controlling inflation due to demand pull factor. Last but not least, price control and rationing is another measure of direct control to check inflation. The government tried to have the price control by fixing an upper limit for the pieces of essential consumer goods and service in market. Inflation rate is the important thing that we need to focus so that we can compete our economic growth with developing countries and to achieve our goal to become the best country in Asia and also the worldwide. That's all for me. Thank you.